I'm getting some deja vu because Britain is going into full-blown moral panic mode about trumped-up charges of anti-Semitism. This was the opening of ITV's news at 10 on Tuesday night.
Chaos in the Labour Party. After one candidate was suspended for his comments on Israel, another tonight followed suit.
Further information came to light yesterday calling for decisive action, so I took decisive action.
After all the storm of controversy over anti-Semitism in the party under Jeremy Corbyn, this is a gravely serious issue for the new Labour leader himself.
Now, you wouldn't guess from that intro that the second guy who's been suspended, Graham Jones, was only found to have said effing Israel and stated that Britons who go and join the IDF should be locked up. Now, both of those are perfectly reasonable, has absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with racism of any kind. You also wouldn't have guessed from that introduction with the very dramatic background music that everyone involved in this is a factional enemy of Jeremy Corbyn. He's brought in for some reason. Oh, Jeremy Corbyn, anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn. These are all people who hated Jeremy Corbyn. Finally, I don't know if you noticed, but it's a little odd to call Starmer Labour's new leader, right? So we say, all of this trouble under Jeremy Corbyn, under its new leader, Keir Starmer, it's still going on. He's been in charge for 4 years, right? The idea that Keir Starmer is Labour's new leader seems a bit far-fetched for me. But the media parts of the Labour right and the pro-Israel lobby have smelled blood, and the Jewish Labour movement has already called for the suspension of any candidate or councillor who was even present in the meeting where Azhar Ali made his comments about October the 7th. A bit McCarthy, I think. The Telegraph as well have made their intentions clear. So they say this. So Keir will come under further pressure to investigate 5 more MPs and candidates who the Telegraph can reveal have been involved in controversies over Israel. 2 shadow cabinet ministers, Fangam Debonair and Shabana Mahmood, are among those who have expressed contentious views on Gaza, while Afsal Khan, a former shadow minister, previously compared the Israeli government to Nazis. Zara Sultana, the left-wing MP, liked an anti-Israel social media post last month, while a councillor running in Southampton allegedly attended a pro-Palestine rally in November. Let's look at these allegations again, right? So the people who are facing, there's these calls. Keir Starmer's under further pressure to investigate these people. So 2 shadow cabinet ministers expressed contentious views on Gaza. The hell is a contentious view on Gaza? I think a contentious view on Gaza would be that we should continue selling arms to a government which is using them for genocidal ends. That to me should be fairly contentious. I don't know what they mean by contentious here. I haven't heard anything that Fangam Debonair or Shabana Mahmood have said that seems particularly contentious. I mean, they've been marginally more critical of Israel than the Labour leadership. That seems to be enough to be landed in this position by the Telegraph. And then Zara Sultana liked an anti-Israel social media post last month. She liked an anti-Israel social media post. Israel has been found by the International Court of Justice to be potentially carrying out a genocide in Gaza. And liking a post critical of Israel now should get you thrown out of mainstream politics. Completely bizarre. And a councillor running in Southampton, I love this word, a councillor running in Southampton allegedly attended a pro-Palestine rally in November. Allegedly. Oh, he's alleged to have attended a pro-Palestine rally. It's like a crime, something really bad. He's allegedly been a sexual harasser in the office or whatever. He allegedly attended a pro-Palestine rally in November. Dahlia, I've heard allegations that you've attended pro-Palestine rallies and that you might have liked anti-Israel social media tweets. And I bet you've got a lot of contentious views when it comes to Gaza. I mean, what the hell is going on here?
My dreams of standing as, a Labour MP have been shattered. Until now, they were pristine. It's a true upside down world when, as you said, a political party, even take away the fact that the Labour Party is supposed to be like a progressive or like centre-left party, just any political party thinking that it's appropriate to suspend members, to suspend representatives because they are critical of a government that has been found, as you said, to be plausibly committing genocide. I mean, when you lay it out like that, it is completely indefensible and it's completely obscene. I think because often, we talk about Keir Starmer being, a careerist and being very sort of cynical. But I think sometimes we assume that because he's very careerist and because he's very cynical and because he doesn't have a backbone or principles, that somehow makes him a really good politician. He's actually not a good politician, because I don't understand what the political gain of continually rehashing this thing that they say they want to put into the past of the Labour Party at the expense of so much of their base. I mean, at this point, it's like, is a single Muslim MP going to be able to survive the Keir Starmer era? Like, it is a fact that for a lot of Muslim people, a lot of people from the Middle East, and actually a lot of people around the world who don't have a specific reason to have a really vested interest in turning a blind eye to what Israel is doing right now, will share the sentiments of someone who is critical of Israel. And so it's like, what kind of base are you building? Like, what kind of power are you building? Even if you were just the most cynical person in the world and all you cared about was building your own career and winning an election and staying in power, because let's not forget, winning an election is not the same as actually holding political power. You win the election and then you have to convince the people that you still deserve to be in power. It's not functional if you are extremely unpopular for the entirety of your tenure. I don't think that's what Keir Starmer wants to do, and that's not the politically savvy thing to do. But the fact that he has managed to set himself this kind of bizarre benchmark, which forces him to cannibalize his own party beyond even just the Corbynite faction, which is a significant part of the party's base. But even he's going beyond that, even to, as you said, go for people who have never been associated with Corbyn, who would consider themselves to be anti-Corbyn. And yet the benchmark he set himself is so unstrategic and is so broad and but poorly thought out and reactive that it's almost like all you've done is just lose segments of your base rather than really significantly gain ground with any new bases, which is what someone who is politically savvy would be doing. And I think it speaks volumes that, this is a man who hasn't even governed for a single day as prime minister. And he is standing against one of the most unpopular parties and unpopular prime ministers in recent history. How can Keir Starmer still manage to be doing such a bad job of getting people on his side? His ratings are very poor. 47% of people think he's doing a bad job. 15% don't know. Only the rest of them think he's doing a good job. And when it comes to his vote amongst amongst Muslim voters, which are a significant part of the Labour Party's base, that has plummeted from 80% to the low 60s. So for me, what I find so intriguing is for someone who has no principles and for someone who's willing to say whatever he needs to say to get ahead or to convince the person in front of him, how is he still doing such a bad job of keeping even the bare bones of his base together? I mean, it doesn't bode well for what, even from his perspective, for what a Labour in power, Labour Party being in power will look like. I can't see how he's going to be able to actually hold a coalition together long enough to even wield power in any kind of meaningful form. So even if you put aside the significant moral and political differences that perhaps you and I might have with Keir Starmer, from a self-interested position, it makes no sense. Which brings me to the conclusion that not only do you not have a backbone, not only do you not have principles, but you don't even have a sense of basic political strategy. So you basically have nothing when it comes to something to offer the Labour Party or the British people at large.
One of the things people say has been damaging for Keir Starmer this week is him seeming uncertain about what he wants and what he should do. A lot of divering. Ed Balls, though, in contrast, he's former Shadow Chancellor and now GMB host. He knows exactly what he thinks.
Azza Ali said a terrible thing.
Terrible. Well, the Jewish media bit was
anti-Semitic thing. And that's what he's been dealt with. Yeah. Graham Jones, I know him really well.
Yeah.
Was an MP.
Yeah.
He is not a Corbynite.
No.
Not hard left. Absolutely not
nor was the Rothschild candidate who's been
absolutely not anti-Israel.
Yeah.
Absolutely not anti-Israel.
Right.
In fact, if anything, on the other side of that argument, very, very deeply embedded and knowledgeable about the military.
Right.
I think what had happened was he and Azza Ali had been told to go to a meeting to reassure the community that they were being listened to. But I don't think he was intending to send those kind of anti-Semitic messages at all. You could all imagine saying kind of expletive America, expletive France. The thing he said about the military is true. I think it was extremely unwise, but to describe him or what he said as anti-Semitic, I think is untrue.
That's why
they're not even hiding it. That argument, right? There was no discussion about what was said. I mean, very briefly at the end, but the key point there, let's get some facts straight, he said. He's my friend. That was a good one. He's not left-wing. He likes the military. He likes Israel. And therefore, he shouldn't have been suspended. Right? That's the argument. A little addendum at the end. Oh, and by the way, what he said wasn't anti-Semitic. Right? The key issue, he's not left-wing. He's not a Corbynite. This was a mistake. Right? I, of course, agree, right? What Graham Jones said wasn't in any way anti-Semitic. I don't think he should have been suspended, but I would like some consistency here. In fact, I'm somewhat grateful that Ed Balls was so explicit there when it came to the factional motivation of his defense of Graham Jones. But I don't think he's been so honest on other occasions. Let's look at how Ed Balls discussed 2 days earlier the suspensions of Andy McDonald and Kate Osamor.
Kate Osamor in Edmonton in London and Andy McDonald in Middlesbrough have been suspended for saying things that, frankly, I didn't think they should have been suspended. I think Osamor's was very tasteless. McDonald's, I don't think was, but anyway. But nevertheless, they've been suspended for what you would call lesser offences.
But they've been suspended for a very particular reason, which is that Keir Starmer defined his leadership as clearing up the anti-Semitism of the Jeremy Corbyn period.
And then look.
So when it comes to Graham Jones, right, saying he hasn't said anything anti-Semitic. And by the way, he doesn't like Jeremy Corbyn. He's on the right of the party. He likes Israel. He likes the military. So it's all fine. When it's Kate Osamor under discussion, when it's Andy McDonald under discussion, the guest there has said what they've said wasn't anti-Semitic. Ed Balls hasn't seemed to have given sort of any sort of intellectual dispute of that. He isn't saying that what Andy McDonald said is anti-Semitic. He said, but the context here, the context is Keir Starmer has to be really tough on these people because he's trying to rid the party of any possible association with anti-Semitism. So very different, isn't it? How he speaks about people on the left of the party and how he speaks about people on the right of the party. And again, if he was there as a representative for the Labour right, if they said, we got Ed Balls on, he's a bit of a warrior for the Labour right, so he's going to be a partisan voice here, and then you've got a host who can skewer him and say, seems a little bit inconsistent the way you talked about Andy McDonald and Kate Osamor and now the way you're talking about Graham Jones, right? If there was someone to skewer him for that, fine. He's the goddamn host. Right, this factional actor within the Labour Party who's playing this role of, but don't you think? I mean, Keir Starmer probably does have to be very tough on these people because of the association with anti-Semitism. You are there fighting factional battles. I mean, getting paid by ITV. Right, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And I mean, I have to say, the whole thing is like going through the looking glass, right? You see people now. James O'Brien today on LBC, right? He's saying, you know what? Is what these people have said really anti-Semitic? Look, Boris Johnson, he goes through Boris Johnson's book published ages ago. Well, some of the things Boris Johnson has said seem a lot more anti-Semitic than anything these Labour politicians have said. That book was published a long time ago. You could have said that in 2019, right? But he happens to like Keir Starmer. He didn't like Jeremy Corbyn. So when it was Jeremy Corbyn, there's no smoke without fire. If people are calling it anti-Semitic, there must be something going on. Now it's Keir Starmer. And I mean, as I say, we are seeing this ridiculous moral panic. But some people, the James O'Briens of the world, are saying, you know what? It's not always the case that there isn't no smoke without fire. Sometimes things do get blown out of proportion, and maybe that's happening here. Maybe that's been happening for the past 5 years. Well, 10 years, I suppose. God, getting old, aren't we? 2024, it all started in 2015. This will continue. I don't celebrate the suspension of these people for these warped reasons because I don't back the anti-Semitism moral panic. But I'm not here to cry or grieve if Keir Starmer gets skewered.